Someone recently asked the question, how do you make a watermark with Blender video editing? Awesome question. Let me show you. So first we're going to open Blender here, and we're going to go to File, New, Video Editing, get to our video editing interface. You may have a template you load or something. Speaking of that, I'll show you that real quick, just in case you don't. So here in our video editing, we want to adjust a few settings right off the bat. We'll go down over here and change our output to where we want this to render in the end. I guess videos is fine. Actually, I'm going to make a new folder, call it renders, or just render. I like to store it in a folder called that way they're easy to find. Change the file format to FFmpeg video. Go down to the encoding, click the drop down, change the audio to AAC. That's my standard, and that generally gets things rendering well. And now I'm going to do file, save as. I'm just going to call this video editing template. There's another just random hot tip for you. And so once you load up Blender, you can go to File, Open, or Open Recent, and just open this right up while your settings are ready to go. Now, when you save your next thing, you want to do is save as and give it a different name once you're doing some work. That way you keep this template preserved. But it's easy enough to go back if you need to. All right, so let's make a watermark. First of all, we need a video. Do I have any video files? Maybe I have one from yesterday. Videos, there's this one. Yeah, I did this one yesterday. There's the one that's currently recording. Yeah, I'm on a laptop that only has one drive, so gonna have to deal with it. You guys all saw this video. If you didn't, go watch it. Just my last one right before this. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I feel obligated to say go watch it, but look at the topic, decide for yourself. All right, so there we go. I just stretched this out to the end. I guess I was blabbing without telling you what I'm doing, which is going to be not helpful for a new user. So what I did is I just clicked in here, anywhere, and I hit page up. Page up goes to the end of the frame. Then I just changed this end render point right here, current frame, to the end, final frame of the playback rendering range. So that way, now it's going to default to this. You end up shortening this by the end because you cut parts and stuff. So take that for what you will. So watermark, you ask. All right, let's make a watermark. What's required in a watermark? Well, you typically want a small little image that represents your brand, right? Let's open GIMP. GIMP is a free image editor. You might use Photoshop. If you already know how to do the image part, then you can skip all past this. But just for this person who's totally lost and doesn't know how to do this at all, I will show you how to make the image for your watermark image as well. Rhetorical image statements. All right, so first you got to decide what size you want it. So we're going to go File, New, and we're just going to do a small one. We'll do 512 by 512. Nice little square watermark. Sure, why not? So we get this background that is not opaque, but so what I usually do is I just create a new one with Control-Shift-N, create a new layer, make sure the transparency is, well, fill with transparency, perfect, and delete the old one. You can also work up the old one and make it transparent, but I just do this because it's quick. It's a few buttons, you hit OK. And now you want to just design your watermark on here. So you come over here to these tools, and yeah, I'm not going to teach you all about GIMP. I'm sure there are a zillion tutorials on YouTube about GIMP, so I'm just going to do something quick and painless just to get it in there. I'm just going to get some bold lettering here and just type something. Say our company's named Big Ben's Bread. So we'll go like Big Ben, and then I'll have like a bread thing under here, because why not? Change the color of this. I'm going to make it white. Give it a, I'll do some more to that real quick. But first of all, let's work up Big Ben's. This is the most random thing I know. Let's make a new layer for the toast. Let's just draw toast. We'll do it like this. Make this a little smaller. Go like this. Make a little bread thing. Oh, this is going to look like a hat. I guess that works. Yeah, all right. Deal with the guys. For example, it doesn't need to be good. Okay, let's move this up here. Let's just move this a little bit. Actually, I'm probably going to make those letters a little bigger. Let's go to text again. I'll put bread down here. Adjust the color of this to the one I last used. There we go. We'll make it a little bigger down here, because why not? I should just make one for my channel, obviously. It's like the obvious thing to do. But I like to break the meta breaker over here. That's what's going on. Press T, go to text. I'm going to make this a little larger. It's an awful logo. This is a terrible logo. I don't know. Let's just finish it anyway. Let's get some brown. What's about right there, I guess. That's not where I wanted it. Okay, let's go to this layer. Click there. Give a little lighter color for the inner of the bread. Let's put some drop shadow on these letters. Let's turn up the opacity. Set this to around 0. See how that looks. All right, but I think it's getting clipped. So let's right click on this, go to layer to image size, and filters, re-show the drop shadow. Let's go like that, go like that. Okay, that's a bit much. Change this to 0. All right, well, that's starting to be readable. Now, the point of this text is you want it to be readable no matter what the background is. It might be on any color in the background that your video is showing. So if it's on white, you won't be able to read this bread unless it has a drop shadow. That's just a design thing. Repeat, drop shadow, but we have it on this new layer, so that gives it the same one. And we're starting to look pretty good. Let's just put a drop shadow on this bread as well. Might as well repeat. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Control Z, go to this layer. Repeat, drop shadow. There we go. Now we have a logo for Ben's Big Bread. It has opacity. Let's just export it. File, export, and I need to pick a place to save it. Typically, it's good practice to have a place where you have all your stuff for your current project, but I'm just going to leave it in documents for now because whatever, and I'm going to call this Big Ben's Bread. I should put logo in the title probably. Okay, fine. I'll cancel and put logo. I typically like to put something like that on my images if I'm going to use it a lot, or Big Ben's could have multiple things. What if I just make this company just out of nowhere? I'd be like, guys, I'm going to make a company called Big Ben's Bread, and we're going to sell blender toast. Okay, so now we just need to bring that in here. In my documents already, just need to refresh this. You can also drag it from your file explorer, but since this little section is already ready to go and pretty much in the right spot, we're just going to drag it in. And now you see it stretches across the whole thing and looks awful. You probably don't want that. So we're just going to zoom way in and I'll show you some workup things. Now, first of all, we want this to be across the whole video, right? So we're going to grab it, press G. We just click the end to grab it. You got to click it so the end turns white. If you click here, you grab the whole thing. Click the end, you only grab the end. So then I'm going to press G to move or grab. And then I'm going to press Control and it's going to snap to the wrong side. Okay, I want it to snap to the other end. So I'm going to press Home while I'm hovering down here to get a full view. I got to select an edge again. Let's see. Press G, press Home, press G. Okay, now let's snap it to this end. So that's at the end. This one's at the beginning. So we have this bread logo. It's going to go across the entire thing. It's loading here. As you can see though, that's not going to work for a watermark. So what do I need to do to work this up a little bit? Say you want it in the bottom right, bottom left, wherever you want it. It doesn't matter. You'll see here in a second. So first thing you want to do is you want to click on it and then go over here to the strip properties and look for offset and check offset. And that will offset it rather than stretch it across the whole screen. And now you can also go here to position and move it around. And as you can see, it's all coming together. But what if it's too big? What if that's not a good size? What if that's just too massive of a watermark? What if you want it to be smaller? What if you want it to be like human size so it looks like I'm eating it in this picture? I don't know. Whatever it is. So I'm going to say, let's put it at the bottom left. That sounds good to me. And then it's still too big. So make sure you got it clicked on. Go to Add, or you can press Shift A if you got the hotkeys down. Shift A, Effect Strip, Transform. This is the same one that's in Add, Effect Strip, Transform. Oh, but now this presents another problem. We don't see the image behind it. That's because this transform has now taken over whatever this original one had, and it is now applying transform properties. But the thing is, it sets this initial composting to replace, so it replaces everything behind it. We want this to just be an overdrop, so we're going to switch this to overdrop and back to, yeah, we're back to where we were. So now also in these properties, you can adjust the position again, and the scale and the rotation. So I usually leave the position alone and leave the position offsetting to here. I don't know if that's backwards and I should leave this one alone and do it on the transform. I'm not really sure. But since you have to check this offset anyway, that's why I start adjusting it here, because the properties. Anyway, you go to uniform scale and you move this down and you make it smaller. And maybe that looks about good. So I am going to keep positioning it here because this is the position after the transform. So that's kind of how I do it. I get it initially where I want it and then I apply additional transforms. I don't know if that's the best thing to do. I think it works because if you start framing this in with keyframes and doing stuff with it, then it gets a little tricky. So maybe we like it there. Maybe that's good. Let's say you want to do something really cool and maybe, sure, you want to shrink it down. Shrink it down the wrong way. Bring it over on the X, bring it up on the Y. Oh, scale of 0 doesn't work. That's just totally invisible. Let's just set these both to 20. Okay, 25. Make sure you don't click off strip, otherwise you have to do this again. Make this 1.25, or actually 50%. Let's just make it 50%. Now we want to adjust these a little bit more manually. Drag this over till it looks good. Okay, so about negative 22. This one I'm guessing is going to be different. Drag it down. Okay, around negative 20, let's say. So there's seems like a decent place. So one thing you can do that's kind of cool, because this is enough right here. All right, you could render this out. You now got a video with a watermark on it, but it's very bright. A lot of times you want your watermark to be faded a little bit, or maybe you want it to animate. So I'm going to give you a little bonus and show you all that if you want to keep watching and giving me view time. See this guy? This guy wants view time. So let's animate this. You have an offset here we can play with, but we can also play with just this position and scale. So let's say we want it to start out really large, and then we want to make it shrink down over the first, or after 8 seconds, and turn into the watermark. We could do that. So let's go to the 8-second mark, right about there, close enough. And this is where we want it to end up. Let's go ahead and put a frame here. Now let's go to the beginning. I'm going to press the home key, or not home key, page down. Click on it. And now I'm going to put it where I want it to start. So let's say, well, let's scale it up to like 1.5. So a little larger than before. And we're going to find it here. If this goes off the screen, it can become a little hard to work with suddenly. But let's say we want it to go like this. Start here, or I don't know. I guess I like it starting over here and a little bit centered with my head. So now that's really huge. You can see something with the shadowing that I actually kind of messed up. See how it cuts off the shadowing right here and it has a sharp edge? You typically don't want that. So that the shadow went off this edge a little bit. So if I were really doing logo design, I wouldn't let that happen. But this is just, yeah, you know. All right, so let's say we want it to start here. It looks good. So let's put a frame here. And we want to copy these settings. See, 1.5, let's just call this 50 and call this one 32. So 32, 50, 1.5. So let's go to about second 7. Because we want to have a 1 second animation time. So from second 7 to 8. Actually, let me just drag this over. So on Blender, if you go to the very corner here and it turns into a cross, you can click and drag over new sections. So I'm dragging over a new little bar down here. Don't really want that, so I'm gonna go like this. So if you drag on the one to the left or right of it and hold, it'll drag it off. We want to do it right here. Yeah, here would be good. Yeah. So I'm gonna drag this over and it gives me a new one. And I'm gonna change this window that I just made to a dope sheet. This will just allow us to zoom in on our little timeline area here and see it visually. It's really all it does. You can actually adjust with these two and click on them to access your keyframes. So that's kind of cool. So it tells you what you're doing based on what you've keyframed in. So anyway, we want to go down to about second 7. It's kind of hard to do. Let me zoom in on this. Okay, right about there. Close enough. Close enough. So we're going to put these numbers back in here. 32, 50, 1.5. Keyframe those in. And that's just so this holds position from the initial frame to 6.32. And then from 6 to where we set that other keyframe at about second 8, it's going to start translating. So if you watch this from the beginning, it'll be big until like right here, and then it'll go. So maybe starting on frame 6, we'll also mark the transparency and start making it a little faded. So we'll go to that keyframe. So you can hit this little button here, jump to keyframe, and go back to edge right to 1. Oh, you got to click on the strip thing first. There we go. You got to click on the bar you want to skip to the keyframe on first. So I can jump between those by just clicking this little lag time there. So that way you can mess with it. And I'm going to mess with it a little bit. I'm going to click the opacity here and frame that in right at the 1 second. And then we're going to go to where it ends. So we're going to make it start fading a little bit. We'll just make this, I don't know, let's do a 0.5. Oh, we do have to make sure we save it. So you can press I. That's what I'm doing to save these. I don't know if I've mentioned that. You can also just click this dot over here. And as you can see, it does a little effect. Some of these do effects for when you have changes. I guess this one does. That's pretty cool. Opacity is pretty good to know, so that's nice. So you could somewhere mark a keyframe and start doing something with it again, like at the end. Maybe we want, let's just go to the end. We end at 9:41. Maybe we want at the very end a little fade time where it does a thing. So I'm going to mark. Let's see, this is going to be a little tricky. You typically need 2 marks when you want to change because you need, well, yeah, you want the beginning and the end basically. So I'm going to mark here everything that's current. That way it stays locked in place for the whole duration. And then we're going to go, so we want it to get maybe big and go into the center of the screen and then hold for a little bit. So let's just click here. So I guess we want the transition time and then a final hold time. And we'll just make this something where it's big. And let's do 1.5 again and put these in the opposite direction. Put it right in the center. Maybe that looks good. So we'll just press these buttons. I'm going to adjust the opacity as well. Back up to 1. And there we go. So during that frame right there, during those frames, we have a little transition time. There it is. I'm going to scroll way over. All right. And then we want it to hold to the end. And I guess, you know, these aren't going to change. This will hold to the end. But maybe we want it to fade out at the end. So we just right click on this and go to fade, fade out. Now you could manually do that with the opacity and doing timelines, but it has, Blender has a nice little shortcut there where you can right click and just fade things. And we could also fade in at the beginning. Fade, fade in. And now we'll have a watermark that animates throughout our whole video. Let me just get rid of this video. This video is not making it easier to edit. Let me show you another trick. Maybe you don't have any video footage, right? And you just still want to make a video, promotional, talk over it, whatever. Let me show you a cool little trick. So I'm going to open up Chrome here and let's go to just Google Images and let's search for bread stores. And we're going to, for sake of example, show ones that are legal to use, I think. Someone can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but if you go to, well, let's click on images first of all. So we get bread stores. And let's go to tools, usage rights. I think Creative Commons license are all perfectly fine to use as much as you want. And we could grab something like one of these. Let's look for a high quality one. So we could also go to size, large, and some of these look okay. I like the idea of having a store, but this bread one's kind of cool too. So we're just going to grab this. And you can see the size of the image. I'm going to right click and just do save image as. It's called cookies something. I'm going to put it in my documents. Okay, now we can get out of here. I'm going to refresh my documents here that I'm looking at in Blender. And we're just going to drag this in below the whole logo thing and stretch it to the end. Zoom way out to do that. Make sure I click the end first so I have that ready. Can't really click on it when you're zoomed out and it's tiny. All right. So there, now we have the whole thing. Instead of an actual video, we just have a logo, and it's bread. It's bread, man. All right, I think I've given you enough tips in this video, maybe a little bit too much, but there is in general how you can get a watermark going and also give you lots of bonus content. So please give this video a like. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see more like this or what. Don't forget to say hello in the comments, and I'll try to say hello back and stuff. And you know, also do appreciate likes. It does help get this video propagated out and helps the channel a lot. We'll see you guys in the next one. Matt from Code Tech and Tutorials, over and out. Oh, one last thing. How do you actually render it? How do you get this? Okay, you just go up here and you click render animation and it ends up wherever you set this output. As long as these settings are correct, it will render as a video with your audio and everything. Render animation. It starts, it takes a while. It does all the things. Oh, this is going to be brutal on my poor computer right now. It tells you what frame it's on. Depends how powerful your computer is and how much you're doing for how long this will take. I'm recording and rendering, so it is epic slow. And I'm on a little poor computer that I am pushing to the max right now. If you close it, it stops. Don't forget to do a save as and change this from video editing template to Big Ben's Bread Promotional. Hire me, Big Ben's Bread, please. So now, in case this crashes or whatever, you can always just open it back up. Geez, I just can't stop giving you guys tips. I can't help it. I like to give back. It's taking forever to open. Okay, yeah, we go to File, Open Recent, and we're back to where we were ready to go. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again.